I'm Mike, I'm an alcoholic. It's nice to be here sober today. I did the dance that we do in here, and as a result I had the experience that they talk about in this book, and I'm forever grateful. I got asked the other day to speak here. I guess his speaker fell through, and I don't know, I'm a little, I come here all the time, and, I don't mind listening to me, but, I'm sure there's a lot of people that, probably roll their eyes, and, I apologize for that. I've been there before, my sponsor always taught me to, just say a prayer and let it rip. I never worry about what step we're on because, as long as they're one of the 12, I've had experience with them, so I'm good. I think this is a good chapter. It's real, these first couple of chapters, the doctor's opinion and more about alcoholism. I was fortunate to, come in Alcoholics Anonymous, a long time ago, and sometimes my frustration is, speaking is how I can convey a message, that to show that, I was hopeless, and now, there's hope, and, then I think that really doesn't, go together with say a prayer and let it rip, I don't normally say this, and I don't do it. Well, I do it in some, in some form of, yay, look at me. But October 9th, I just celebrated my 32nd year of being in Alcoholics Anonymous and sober. I think a good example of there is probably time doesn't mean much, but. I had an experience when I was a kid, and it was through the grace of, God changed me. I choose to call, my higher power, whatever you want, call here, it's fine, but I choose to call him God. God changed me. God did for me what I didn't want to do for myself. And I had no intentions, I was a kid that went into a treatment center that just to get out of some trouble. I like drinking. I especially like doing hallucinogens, seeing things melt, different colors, just really does it for me, I like living in a distorted reality, and, I was a kid that went in there, no intentions of changing what I was doing, and I left there, I had an experience where again, God did for me what I couldn't do for myself. And I came to Alcoholics Anonymous. I was going to meetings before this. My brother was going, and my first meeting was the old Tuesday night Don't Drink group in Framingham. And if you had asked me, when I came out of that meeting, what I was, what was going on, I just had no clue. I wasn't the brightest kid. My thought process was probably as deep as a white wall. It wasn't very deep. And, when I got out, I started going to Alcoholics Anonymous and, listen to people speak and stuff like that. And they would talk about, 3 people would get up to the speakers meeting and talk about, 3 different diseases of alcoholism, and what they talk about in here is, physical, mental, and spiritual, and you would get 3 different definitions of that. And I don't fault anyone. I don't blame anyone. I think, for the most part, and I try to look at everybody as really trying to do the best they can. And, that's what I try to do. And I'm limited from my, my feelings, thoughts, attitudes, and history, And, they would get up, there was a disease, that of remembering when. So maybe if I tied something around my neck to every day and tugged on it to remember when, it was a disease of feelings, that if I just talked about my feelings, I would, stay sober. It was a disease of, it was hereditary. So basically, if I didn't have parents, I wouldn't be an alcoholic. I mean, it was just, it was just crazy. And I ended up in Worcester, Worcester City Detox. I was about a year sober, and I was there to get into a halfway house, Crozier House. And really, to say, I'm a year sober and I'm in a detox, it shows you my, my state mentality really, my mental state really wasn't that great. And through that, I started running with these guys around this area, and it was truly, again, the grace of God. I don't, remember meeting these guys. It was just like we were running together, and there was just one individual, and, he's pretty much sponsored us all, and, he was a guy that, got sober down in Cape Cod, and he moved back to Shrewsbury, and he had a big book, and he could explain things to me like nobody could. He was just the most intelligent gentleman I've ever met in my life. He was just absolutely remarkable. And, he had me read the doctor's opinion. He started a big book meeting at Hahnemann Hospital on Friday night. It was a men's meeting. Guys, it was, the second meeting started, I think, of this type of format. Guys were coming up from the Cape every week. And, he had me read the doctor's opinion. There is a solution, more about alcoholism. And then he sat with me, and we went through this stuff. And, he was just able to draw a picture. And, I was a kid, I was like 17 years old. I was just, I was out of my mind. I couldn't understand why things weren't working out. I see people come into Alcoholics Anonymous, get their life together, maintain jobs, relationships and stuff like that. I'm really not too keen. I wasn't really too keen on working. It's just been a concept that, wasn't my, I don't know. There's always better things to do. I work now to maintain a certain lifestyle, and I just, my family was the problem and stuff like that. And we went through this, and we talked about in the doctor's opinion that, I suffer from this craving, that I put a drink in myself, in me, and I, drugs and stuff like that, and I just can't stop. I don't want to stop either anyways, I mean? I don't see a problem with taking a bottle of booze and opening it up and just drinking it till it's gone. I mean, I like that. I don't do that with Coca-Cola. I don't do that with water. I love milk. I drink a lot of milk, but, with that other stuff, because it just, that stuff doesn't have the effect alcohol has on me. Drugs and alcohol. It's just like, it was like, I think, pardon my language, I was screwed from the beginning. My first experience with booze, drugs, and sex were like, I hit the mountain. It's like, oh my God, I want to feel like this every day of my life. You know what I mean? And it was like, when you're up top, there's no else to go down, but to go down. And it's so like I chased the feeling of those, first times. And I am, I'm a pig drinker again. I just like to drink till I'm, in La La Land. And it doesn't play well in most areas. It talks about in the doctor's opinion that the state of the alcoholic, the nature of the alcoholic, that he's, irritable, restless, and discontent. That is my nature. I mean? Take booze, out of my system. And that's what I am. I'm just, I'm just got that slow burn inside, and it's just, I'm defensive. I'm always, I feel hurt or threatened, and it's just like, that's my nature. And, it's, so, put booze and drugs, it intensifies that, and so, the solution to that is just don't drink, just don't drink. Okay, I mean, and if it was just that, and we drank, and it, if it's black and white, then really, I'm an idiot, I don't, I found out, a long time ago that, I was riding with somebody, I was on the handlebars, and we're riding the bike and stuff, and I stuck my foot in the spokes. You know what I mean? We flipped over. I found out I don't do that anymore. Because I didn't like that experience. It just wasn't fun, I've had bad experience with alcohol, getting arrested, becoming abusive and stuff like that, almost getting into fights, and my game is, threaten me. It's like I want to say, you know what, you do that again, I'm going to take a bat, I'm going to smash your knee. The problem is that's the best of my game. I don't bluff well. You just say, okay, get a bat. I go sulk away. You know what I mean? Because I'm not a tough guy. So if that was a solution, just don't drink. And then they come in here and they talk about, more about alcoholism. It says the problem centers in the mind of the alcoholic. The best way I can say this is most people think they see things as they are. The truth is, we see things as they are. I see things as I am. That's why like begets like. Just like, isn't it funny, if you've been around here for a while, you meet somebody down the road, you develop a relationship, and you find out they came from an alcoholic family or something like that, or somebody could be, grew up in a, from their experiences. That's how they're, how I'm formed, how my thoughts, attitudes, and feelings are formed from my experiences. I'm a sum total of all that. So that's how I see, I see things. I see this world through how I am. Another example is, you ever, been around somebody that's just always complaining, and just complaining about, and you look at their life and things really are never working out for them. It's always one thing after another. Negativity attracts negativity. So the problem here is, I always like the saying, change your thoughts, change your world. Okay, but the problem is I have this, I have this mindset, and if I could change it, I would. You know what I mean? If I could, because then I could just go to the Barnes and Noble, pick out one self-help book, read that, and I'd be fine. I can skip down the happy road, the yellow brick road. But it just doesn't work for me. Because I just can't change my nature. I always like the story of the turtle and the scorpion. The scorpion wants to get across this river, and he sees this turtle. He says, "Hey, will you take me across?" And he's like, "Well, no, you'll sting me. I'll die. No, I won't do that. I promise." He finally convinces him, gullible turtle. All right, they're going across the river, and about halfway through, the scorpion stings the turtle, and he's like, "Oh my God, why'd you do that? We're gonna die." And the scorpion says, "It's in my nature. It's what I do. I'm an alcoholic. It's just, it's just a matter of time before I'm going to drink again." And, these stories, they talk about the first guy, being, not drinking for a long period of time, and then he picked up. And then it talks about Jim. Jim's typical, probably a typical AA guy, and we can go into, his history to break this down to, the atomic level and stuff like that, but it says here he just did so much, and he picked up again because his nature didn't change. In order for me not to drink, I have to become a person who doesn't drink. Alcoholics Anonymous just says, if that's you, this is how we did it. This is how we transformed. And really, then it talks about Fred. Fred's a smart guy. He developed some inner workings of himself and stuff like that. And it didn't work. And it says self-knowledge is of no avail, no use. So, and I've been fortunate again to be around here for a long time. And, I do have some inner workings of myself, probably too much. And, I get what they're talking about in Alcoholics Anonymous. I get this. And if it was just, come here, if Alcoholics Anonymous is come here and we sit and we listen to people and it's like, oh my God, I don't want to be like that, so I'm going to stop drinking. If it was just that, that's not what Alcoholics Anonymous does. What we do here is we share our experience, and through it, we share the worst of ourselves. And through that, the identification comes where, I don't want to be like that. And the hope, that's where the hope comes from. Because how many times have we felt, so alone? And they re-emphasize these points, and I think, this thing about self-knowledge is of no avail. No matter how much I know, it's not going to make a difference. Alcoholism is too big. For every barrel of no's, there's a yes in there. Alcoholics Anonymous doesn't teach about, this isn't about stop and drink it. This is about not picking up again. Because if I have this and I do, it's just a matter of time before I'm going to drink again. It's just a matter of time. Because my mind is going to twist it in some fashion, some shape or way, that it's just, the idea of having a drink and using drugs looks good. All right? And it's not a conscious thing. The last time I drank was on a Friday night back in October of '84. It was a conscious thing. I said, screw it. And I went, so some people at a hotel room, I went there and I drank that weekend, and it was a conscious thing. All right? Even if that's, even that being the case, in light of my history, that's insane. Because it shows where I'm going to go. I worry about, today I don't even see alcohol. I just don't see it. It's just, and thank God there is a God, because he takes care of that. Because I know it says, I lack power. I have less power than I need to overcome this. So the problem is, and I think the question is how do I overcome my biggest obstacle when I'm my biggest obstacle? Boy, is that nice, huh? Can you just I remember, I always liked that Ice Age, the movie Ice Age. They got to return the baby, and when it's like at the beginning, and they see the people the tribe up on top of the ice, and they're like, we got to climb that, and the Sloth looks up and he's like, no thanks, I choose life. Do you know what I mean? And that's really what it's like. It's like, my obstacles are like, no, why would I want to do that? It talks about at the beginning of this that I had to fully concede to my innermost self that I was alcoholic. It's not a simple admission. I had to fully concede. And really what this was is, that the only, Alcoholics Anonymous is the last house on the street. This is it. Last bus stop. And that's where it had, because nobody else is going to do this. Fred talks about, about these few simple rules, these few simple suggestions, throwing out some lifelong conceptions, and that's what, and it's funny, out of all these years, I don't know where I was, they were talking about the doctor's opinion, and the last thing he says is, I hope that you may read this, and although you may scoff, you may remain to pray. All right? And I don't know how to. I have to get past that scoff, lifelong conceptions, whatever it is. That's what prevents me from, moving on, is that scoff. And it came down to where nothing else worked. Nothing else worked. Everything I did, tried to do, and again, I am not a man of action. I'm not doing a lot, but I just thought I could think my way out of this. That this is what I would do, and it didn't work. And it wasn't until just what my life was and what I wanted for my life were two different things, and they weren't ever going to come together. And I knew that. There's a good article, good couple articles. This Dr. Tebow, he worked with Bill Wilson in the beginning of Alcoholics Anonymous, and he wrote some papers, and you can Google it, and it talks about the difference between submission and surrender. Submission is a conscious thing. Yeah, I got a problem and stuff like that. Surrender is an unconscious thing. They talk about, this is, ego deflation. My ego has to be, deep inside me, my mind tells me that it's okay. Even in my worst moments, it was okay because I knew what to expect. And it says it's not an easy decision to, go on living the way we live in, or pick up this spiritual toolkit and go, why would I want to do that? It's like, it's another one. No thanks, I choose life, but it was only till nothing else worked that I did this work. I started this work, probably back in 1986. I made a good beginning, started to write and stuff like that. But I failed to follow through. You could probably call me Jim. I was fortunate to stay sober, but life got real colorful. And it wasn't until, some self-imposed crises that, I was above a bar looking to rent a room, and I was devastated. I was absolutely crushed. This is my life, 20 years sober, and I got in touch with my sponsor. He was back down the Cape, and I'm like, Mark, I got to write. And he says, I started writing. I started going through this process. I'll end it with this story. I talked to my daughter last week, and, she's at sophomore at Worcester State, and she plays softball, and she made the team last year, and she did all right, didn't play as much, if you listened to me, we probably would have played Division I, but, nobody listens to me. They had fall ball and, the tryouts and stuff, and she says, Dad, this is the first year, she was just shaking, she was nervous, and all of her years of playing softball. I mean, this kid's it's just unbelievable, I've always watched her. She was a pitcher. She should get, nothing affects her. She'd get up on the mound, whatever the situation was, she came to play. Me, I'd be, wetting myself, like, coach, take me out. I got a mental injury, nothing, and she, the last year they had one-on-one meetings, and the coach said to her, she says, you just come off like you're not interested, you don't listen, you roll your eyes and stuff like that. And she was kind of shocked by that because she's just not like that. She she just never thought she was. And so this year they had the one-on-one meetings, and she brought that up with the coach, and the coach was like, we were talking about that. So she says, it's like, what a difference. And she's like, Dad, with me, it's like, you gotta be with me for a bit to get to know me. I don't know where she gets that from. You know what I mean? I mean, if you know me, when I don't like it. I sit there. I'm not very approachable. I wish I could, have a big smile on my face, show you how I feel on the inside and stuff like that. But I'm afraid, that I'm going to look like the Joker, Jack Nicholson in the Joker. You know what I mean? It's just, but I'm not, I don't want to be that way. And I says, yeah, Zoe. I says, I get it. I says, you could be more, you'll be a success in whatever you do, but to be more successful, you have to, you have to overcome that stuff. She's like, Dad, how do I do that when I don't know I'm doing that? Again, the question is, how do you overcome your biggest obstacle when you're your biggest obstacle? And I'm like, Zoe, and, I was able to relate how I am like that. And I said, Zoe, it's, it's difficult. I suffer from a disease of separation, and all I wanted in my life was to, have fellowship, bring people in, even up to that, when I was above that room, looking at a room and stuff like that, that's all I wanted was the fellowship. And I was so, I was like, it was so opposite. And it was amazing that when I started to get back to this process, I did that. I didn't even think about that stuff. My world began to open up, and I began to have fellowship, and I'm forever grateful for that. I'm forever grateful that the people I have in my life, something happens in my family, I'm the one they call, it just, that amazes me. Years ago, it was like my mother's best friend. It was Michael just being Michael, and that wasn't a compliment. It's and I hope that if you're new, coming back or whatever, that the message is it doesn't have to be. You know, it simply doesn't have to be. And I remember years ago, I was commuting, going to Quincy College, and I was at the Greyhound station, the old Greyhound station, and I walked in the men's room, and there was a guy there, and he asked me if I had any change, and I didn't, you know, and I don't know what came, I just walked out, and I said, as I was walking out, I was like, did you ever think about coming to Alcoholics Anonymous? And he didn't say anything, and he put his hand out, and in his hand was a medallion from Alcoholics Anonymous. And I was almost in tears because it made me thought how fortunate I am, you know, because it didn't have to be. Millions and millions of people looking for this solution. How fortunate I am. Thank you so much.